Pam Bondi now says, basically get lost to the judge in the deportation case. And the judge comes back with, well, you're treating, we're gonna have to play it. I'm gonna play it for you because I can't do it justice. You are treating the criminal migrants so poorly that Nazis have been treated better. Yeah. I'm just in sort of disbelief as I hear all of this, but that's the case right now. This is the Obama judge hearing this appellate case. So you have the lawyer Ensign there, Drew Ensign, arguing the case before this woman. You see, what has happened is the judge, the U.S. District Court Judge, Boasberg, he tried to get some information on when the plane took off, et cetera, when they were taking those 261 criminal migrants to El Salvador. And when he did that, it kind of just launched this whole thing, including this particular lawsuit where you have 5 migrants coming forward that have been flown to El Salvador, and they're suing the Trump administration, and they've got the American Civil Liberties Union basically there with them, and American Civil Liberty Union, ACLU, is defending Boasberg temporary restraining orders. So the administration has then sought some clarity on this. And they're like, wait a second, you know what? This is the President of the United States. We feel that we have the right to enact this Aliens Enemy Act of 1798 because we have enemies within the country that want to do us physical harm. Venezuela is not a friend, it is a foe. Therefore, shouldn't we be able to do this? And you're not going to believe quite what went down here with the judge today. It's unbelievable. To me, the judge has no use for any of this. Let me see if I can pull this sound for you because I think it's very much worth hearing. Here we go.
Am I wrong about anything I just said factually?
Your Honor, I think it's incorrect that they couldn't have gone into court as the 5 individual plaintiffs.
No, but the point here was that there were plane loads of people. I mean, it's a class action. There were plane loads of people. There were no procedures in place to notify people. Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemy Act than has happened here, where the proclamation required the promulgation of regulations. And they had hearing boards before people were removed. And yet here there's nothing in there about hearing boards. There's no regulations, and nothing was adopted by the agency officials that were administering this. People weren't given notice. They weren't told where they were going. And they were given, those people on those planes on that Saturday had no opportunity to file habeas or any type of action to challenge the removal under the AEA. And you've agreed that 2 of those airplanes, people were removed under the AEA. What's factually wrong about what I said?
Well, Your Honor, we certainly dispute the Nazi analogy, but more importantly, the fact is that individual plaintiffs were able to file habeas in time in order to secure relief.
Wait, what individual plaintiffs were?
The 5 individual plaintiffs
That's not my question. My question is there were a lot more people. They wanted to bring a class action. They had to have some named plaintiffs. So 5 people filing habeas doesn't help everybody else on 2 airplane loads. Correct? And my question to you is, and you said those 5 didn't get put on the airplanes. So as to the 2 airplanes that I think you just agreed involved removals solely on AEA grounds, on Saturday, the very short time of the proclamation's publication, had no opportunity to file for habeas or even notice as to the grounds on which they were being removed. Am I wrong about that?
I think so, Your Honor. The fact that 5 individual plaintiffs did file habeas and did get relief indicates that they could.
I don't think you're answering my question.
You know, what was amazing about all of this, I got to say, is that this woman didn't let him talk. So this went on for about 2.5 hours, and she actually would not let him talk. It was very clear where she stood on all of this, which I find really, really troubling. Like, you know, these judges are kind of out there in left field. They've got their agendas. She's appointed by Obama. She's got a very different point of view. And she made that clear over and over and over again. I want to play a little bit more, just another short excerpt. This is from this judge, Patricia Millett. Did I say that right, guys? Trying to suggest that Nazis are getting better treatment. Yes, Judge Patricia Millett. She's been on the bench since 2013. Put there by Obama, and clearly has a point of view. Let's listen to just a bit more here.
Your Honor, the government does not believe that the oral pronouncements as opposed to the written one is binding. But as the district court appears to have a different view, his oral order provided for two ways of compliance, either turning around the planes or finding a way to return the people to the United States. The first option is no longer available, but the district court has not said that the second option is not still in force.
And much of this, I think, has to do with the compliance issues that are, I think, separate and go forward regardless of what happens with TROs. And so, as of right now, your concern is that if the TROs, and well, for your sake, say even the written TRO, so the written version of the second TRO is in place, what language in that requires the retrieval of people from U.S. custody?
Your Honor, I think...
Let me clarify again. That are no longer in U.S. custody?
Your Honor, it's not it would not be the written order. I believe it's on page 43 of the Saturday transcript. It was an oral directive, but more broadly too, this is a nationwide TRO that enjoins the president from using any of his AEA authority to remove people during this period. Okay. That is something.
But that's different. That's not ordering ships around in the water. And that's not ordering planes to go anywhere. All that the nationwide TRO says is folks that are detained and folks can still be detained under the AEA. They just cannot be removed from the country until this point, until I guess you get a preliminary injunction decision from the court, which looks to be forthcoming soon.
I agree that the district court looks like it may be acting on a preliminary injunction soon, but I think the intrusion upon the war powers and foreign policy powers of the president is utterly unprecedented. And in a way...
Well, this is an unprecedented action as well. So, of course, there's no precedent for it because no president has ever used this statute this way, which isn't to say one way or the other what it can be done, but simply to say we are in unprecedented territory. But I'm just trying to really clarify here, if you agree that, and I believe you agreed in district court, I think you agreed here, but tell me if I'm mishearing, that these folks have a right under the AEA, under precedent, to challenge their status as individuals subject to, that fall within the terms of the proclamation here. That is, I think most relevantly, whether they are members of Nicaragua, although maybe they deny Venezuelan citizen status too, I don't know. But the big one that seems to be in the papers is they say we're not even members of this. In fact, some of us are fleeing from Nicaragua. Is it your position that temporary restraining order, it simply prevents removal until there's procedure and opportunity in place to address whether they even fall under the proclamation? Are you arguing that that is an unwarranted intrusion on the president's powers?
Yes, Your Honor. I think whenever a district court enjoins the president from exercising his war.
Yeah. So basically the argument here is the president has the power to do this via the 1798 Aliens Enemy Act, which is what they're going back to, okay? It's what they're going back to, and why they're saying, like, there's actually no reason for a judge to be asking anything in the first place here. So that's why they appealed, but then it got thrown into this woman's hands, and you know where she's coming from, the Obama-appointed judge. But keep in mind, again, their point of view from the White House is that, you know, you can all go pound sand because we have the power. The power is vested via this particular act that really hasn't been used since the days of World War II, the Aliens Remedies Act of 1798, which is why you got Pam Bondi telling the judge in the first case, Judge Boasberg, to go pound sand, that he was out over his skis. You remember what she had to say about that quote unquote deadline, which they sort of like, they didn't really answer all the questions he had, because their point of view is we don't have to. Because it's none of your business, we have the authority to do this. Here she was speaking out on Thursday about the issue.
Let's start, if we might, from the decision by Judge Boasberg. Tomorrow is your deadline to answer questions. Those questions include the following: what time did the plane take off from U.S. soil? Where did it leave from? What time did it leave U.S. airspace? And what time did it land in a foreign country? You have, 4, 5, 6 questions the judge wants answers to regarding the details of those flights over the weekend. How will you respond at the Department of Justice?
Well, our lawyers are working on this. We will answer appropriately, but what I will tell you is this judge has no right to ask those questions. You have one unelected federal judge trying to control foreign policies, trying to control the Alien Enemies Act, which they have no business presiding over. And there are 261 reasons why Americans are safer now. That's because those people are out of this country. The judge had no business, no power to do what he did. And he came in on an emergency basis on a Saturday with very, very short notice, if any, to our attorney to run in the courtroom. And this has been a pattern with these liberal judges. You just spoke about that. It's been a pattern with what they've been doing. This judge had no right to do that. They're meddling in foreign affairs. They're meddling in our government. And the question should be, why is a judge trying to protect terrorists who have invaded our country over American citizens? TDA is a terrorist organization.
Okay, so that's what this is really going to come down to. I mean, if the president doesn't have the power to say, hey, I'm going to expel terrorists out of the country, then what are we really dealing with here? The DOJ sort of saying to this judge, you have no business doing any of this. He warned of certain consequences. Well, the consequences are coming, I guess. Now we're in the appellate courts. It's probably going to have to go all the way to the Supreme Court, guys, because the Supreme Court's going to be the one to make the decision on whether or not you can use the Alien Enemies Act, which actually has only been used 3 other times in U.S. history, including for the detention of Japanese Americans during World War II. So it's something that hasn't been used a lot, but is something that is sort of innovative in the legal scholarly theory thinking, right? How do you get rid of people that are known problems, that have committed crimes that you know about, that you're detaining already? I'll tell you one thing, like ICE is just moving forward. They're continuing to do it. They actually had another plane full go back to Venezuela today. Donald Trump saying we absolutely have the time to do this. This is a kind of war, right? This is a time of war. He sees this 1798 Aliens Enemy Act as fair game. Here he is speaking last weekend on Air Force One.
Drug dealers at the highest level, drug lords, people from mental institutions. That's an invasion. They invaded our country. So this isn't, in that sense, this is war.
There you go. Okay, so in that sense, it is war. So why do you have these very, very partisan, and forgive me, but this woman is an Obama-appointed judge. We'll learn more about her in the coming days. We've learned some things about Beaupart. I mean, look, his daughter works for one of the NGOs that's losing money. I don't know whether that's here nor there, but may reflect some bias, the flip side of it. Edgar, good to see you back in the house, as well as spirit-filled. I have some of it. You know what? I'm just going to tell you something. I do appreciate all the support. You have no idea. We are totally independent here. We are totally independent, and isn't that great? I mean, we do have our sponsors. I got you guys, right? And then we've got American Heart for Gold. So if you're going to buy gold, go take a look at these guys. Really good team, and they help bring you this show for free every day. You can go to trishlovesgold.com, sign up there, trishlovesgold.com, up to $15,000 in free silver for friends of the show. Text Trish to 65532, 65532. Just get out your little phone and text right now. I get so much news this is what happens when, you go away, because Jasmine Crockett is like calling for violence, not just on Tesla, but also now Ted Cruz. That's the latest and greatest after hearing Pam Bondi's warning. Unbelievable. But with all this chaos, I guess it makes sense. You want a little gold in your pocket. Gold went down today. I actually bought a little bit, as I always do when it goes down a little bit, because I'm a long-term believer in this one. A few other things I'm a long-term believer in as well. You can find out more about that at 76 Research. But go check out trishlovesgold.com today. As for all the other things that I do believe in big time, go to 76 Research. Use code word dollar. My investment research newsletter. I have all my opinions. It's together with my dear friend Rob Horton, who managed billions of dollars on Wall Street for 20 some odd years. So between the two of us, we kind of got it going on, and we know what's working. And I want to be able to impart that knowledge however I can with you. So gold is one of those things that's working. Go to trishlovesgold.com. And then if you want more information on these markets, go check out 76research.com. I'll tell you one thing, guys, they're continuing to move forward with these deportations. Tom Homan, he's already said he doesn't care. They sent another plane worth some 200 and some odd criminals back to Venezuela today.
Another flight every day. The teams are going to be out there every day. Every day, the men and women of ICE are going to be in the neighborhoods of this nation arresting criminal, illegal alien, public safety threats, and national security threats. Lawrence, you're not going to stop us. We made a promise to the American people. The President Trump has made a promise to the American people. We're going to make this country safe again.
And they were sent a mandate. So, by the way, I should point out, border crossings down 95% since Donald Trump came into office. And this mandate is really, really clear. In fact, the Democrats are even reporting on it, because this is a company that's used by a lot of Dems, great data company, Blue Rose, I believe it's called, Blue Rose Research. And they found that basically Trump would have won by nearly 5 points more if all the Democrats had actually shown up, because they wanted this stuff to get done. There was a mandate. I mean, hey, nobody wants a ton of illegals draining the system and possibly creating crime, etc., you name it. And so with border crossings way down, I don't know if the Democrats know what to do. Chuck Schumer was asked about this the other day. He didn't know how to respond. I showed some of you guys this on Thursday. If you're just joining us right now, thank you. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Join our team here. But here is Chuck Schumer not really liking the good news.
Evidence that Trump's border policies are working? Is he handling the border well, you think, sir?
Crickets, okay? He doesn't want to answer that one. But here's the data, okay? The numbers are really spectacular. So you're looking at over 275,000 or so, whatever the number was. It was massive. Massive, right before Trump came into office. And look at that graphic. Look at it, just sinks with Donald Trump there now. Amazing, right? Just amazing.